Good morning, good afternoon, and good day, and welcome to the Parc'd podcast by Parc'd. Welcome to episode 6. It is just me and Katie today. This took a lot of hard graft and mental energy to plan, okay? Because this week, we're currently filming this on Wednesday, if you want to know how last minute we're running this, because this goes up Friday, so 48 hours, okay? The problem here this week is Katie's on holiday, as you can see, and it's not Katie's usual setup, and the sky definitely does not look like that in the UK right now. Celeste is also on holiday, and Naomi is so chock-a-block with stuff to get done this week with uni and everything like that, and then it was just me, and at one point it was going to be just me, and Katie was like, no, it's okay, babes, I'll come. Give me a time, I will come upstairs to the balcony, I'll film, and I'll go back to the pool. So we're here, okay? This will probably be the fastest podcast you've ever seen from Parc'd. So I think another one of the reasons why this is going to be like a quick one is because there's only 2 series like that we're covering. I can't remember if the first one we did was actually just 1 series and we just babbled. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was just Formula E. It started so early.
Yeah, I think a lot happened, but I also only watched the highlights for Tokyo. I didn't actually get up to watch the race. I didn't really get up to watch either of the races. I won't lie. We are in Japan for Formula E and Formula 1 this podcast. Tokyo E-Prix was the weekend after Australia. And alongside Parc'd, I also work with Feeder Series, and I did stay up to cover F2 and F3. So by the end of that, I could not stay up again. And then with Tokyo Formula 1, I was like, nah, I can't have another weekend getting up. I woke up and I put it on my phone, leaned it on my laptop, was watching it, watched it, lights out, and away we go. And then next thing I know, I woke up and we're in a red flag.
I put it on, woke up, put it on, watched the first lap, fell asleep. Can't tell you the rest of the race. So we're going on hopes and prayers this podcast, yeah. I think.
Parc'd on hopes and prayers. We'll start off with Formula E, which is we've got to think back a couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
So we're in Tokyo. It was the first of a Tokyo E-Prix. Tokyo was actually one of the first places that Formula E asked, Japan in general, I believe it was, to host a E-Prix when Formula E was starting out, and it's taken 10 years and we finally got one. I really like the circuit and I like the track for it, and it was some good racing. We started off with Oliver Rowland on pole position, and Katie had a fantastic weekend this weekend.
Did have a fantastic weekend. My thing is that looking at Nissan last year and looking at Nissan this year, it's so different. You wouldn't look at it and think that it's the same team.
No, it's like they've changed up something. Obviously, you've got Oliver Rowland and Sasha Fenestras. When it actually came to the race, Oliver Rowland finished P2 in the end. Of starting at pole, Sasha Fenestras finished 11th for the second race running in a row. Finished 11th in Sao Paulo as well. Oliver Rowland has just been on the up recently, I think, as an overall.
I think he's really found he's comfortable in the car and goes.
Yeah.
Because he's getting results time and time again.
Exactly. After season 9, I really did feel for him, and I was really, really looking forward to what he could do this season if he got the seat opportunity. And obviously he joined Nissan, and he had a rocky first 2 races. Mexico City finished P11, and the first race in Diriyah he finished 13th. But I always say, so the next race upcoming is Misano, which is a double header. That double headers I find really, really interesting, because you have to have 2 completely different strategies, because although they're at the same track on the same weekend, everything's different. Like, you'll have different power supplies and what's the word?
setup.
Maybe, potentially. I can't think what the word is. Oh my god.
All I know is that from watching like London, which is usually a double header, you always find that the Saturday they race so controlled. Say they race so controlled, but they know that the next day they've got another race as well, so they can't wreck the car.
It's the fact that you said after watching London on the Saturday, they raced really controlled when there was a pile-up of every fucking car except 3. Every single car was
That's why
in the wall.
Usually,
I think... so we have a friend, Josh. We actually have 2 friends called Josh. But one of the Joshes is a marshal. And he marshals at a lot of different races. And one that he really enjoys doing is Formula E London. And we saw him before he had to go to his post for the race. He'd come and see us, he'd come up to our stand and talk to us and whatnot in between his like little breaks when there's nothing going on track. And he came up to us and we were like, oh, good luck for the race, whatever. He was like, yeah, I hope it's a really calm race and I don't have to do anything. He was on the corner with the pile up. Oh,
it was the biggest calmer thing to say this would be a calm race.
Yeah, he asked for a calm race and he got the exact opposite, and it's his own fault, I think.
The thing is that where we know we're completely off going back to London. Hey ho, it's what we do at Parc'd. We completely go off topic. But where we sat, so you can't see them go up this ramp up into the indoor section. So all we heard screech and a crunch, and we're like, "That? What is that?" And then we had another. We're like, "Oh my god!" And then we look up at the screen, it just shows a pile up, and we were like, "Oh no!"
My favourite part about that was then it changed to something else, and then it came back to the pile up, and it's just our friend Josh stood in the middle of the track waiting patiently, like, because he was told,
what am I gonna do?
He was told to go do something, and then on his little earpiece thing they said, no, stop, just wait there, and he's just stood in the middle of the track like, where do I go? And when I tell you, we were fucking crying with laughter. And still, through all of that, Tony Felix Costa didn't end up on the podium.
Right. Yep.
Livid. It was actually fuming. But nonetheless, clearly proves that double headers can always be different. And I like a double header, okay? That's why I'm excited for this weekend. But back to Oliver Rowland, double header. Finished P13 in the first race in Diriyah on the Friday. I think this was a Friday-Saturday week and not a Saturday-Sunday. The next day, he finished P3 and on the bloody podium Diriyah race 2. And since then, he's been on the podium ever since. P3 in Sao Paulo, and then obviously he finished P2 in Tokyo after being overtaken in the last couple laps, I believe it was, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was lap 24. I don't know how many laps the race was out of. So.
I know it was like some of the last few laps.
Yeah.
He got overtaken by Maxi Gunther, which I think came as a shock to a lot of people. He finished P4 in Mexico City, and it was kind of like, wow, Maserati are, doing quite well because they weren't that great last year. And then he took a P6.
I think it's ever since I made my statement of Maserati haven't really been doing.
Yeah, because he literally finished P7 in Diriyah and P9 in Diriyah and then P9 in Sao Paulo. So it wasn't looking like, we were going to get that much success from him in Tokyo, let alone a win. Like, a phenomenal little drive there. And Jake Dennis went on to finish P3.
Out of the 5 races, there's been 5 different race winners. I'm pretty sure that was what Formula E said.
5 races, 5 different race winners.
It's mad.
With 5 different teams and 4 different constructors.
Insane.
Porsche being the only
F1
constructor.
Never.
Yeah, because Mexico City had Pascal Wehrlein, Jake Dennis in Diriyah race 1, Nick Cassidy in Diriyah race 2, Sam Bird in Sao Paulo, Jono, get your tattoo, babes, and Maxi Gunther in Tokyo. Yeah, so I am intrigued to see if we're going to keep that streak going with a different winner every race. We were obviously saying Oliver Rowland, basically the comeback king with, 2 non-point finishes and then 3 finishes on the podium. We do have another comeback king. Antonio Felix da Costa started his season with a retirement in Mexico City, and then a P16 and a P14 in Diriyah. But after that, the last 2 races in Sao Paulo, he's finished P6, and he just missed out on a podium in Tokyo, where he finished P4. I'm quite glad to see he's, getting back into the groove of thing. Pascal Wehrlein, his teammates, had a really good streak so far. He's sat top of the standings, 2 points clear of Nick Cassidy, as he's taken point finishes in every single race. He's got a P1 in Mexico City, as we said, 8th and 7th in Diriyah, 4th in Sao Paulo, and 5th in Tokyo. So I think if Nick Cassidy hadn't retired in Sao Paulo, I think that's the Chloe jinx, personally. He'd probably be sat above Pascal Wehrlein at the moment.
Yeah. Cautious supremacy.
Yeah, but it is very interesting to see how the table is shaking up, because you've got Sam Bird, who's sat down in P8 right now with the race win, but you've got Oliver Rowland in P3 in the standings, no race win, and ahead of Sam Bird you have both Mitch Evans and Jean-Eric Byrne, who also don't have wins. They have 2 second places each, but they also have 2 no point races. Sam Bird's results are very interesting to look at. I love McLaren, and I think they are bloody fantastic, and I love the mark they're making in Formula E for themselves. But I am quite intrigued to see what's going on over there with Sam Bird in Mexico City, finished P14, then finished P4 just outside the podium in Diriyah Race 1, a retirement in Diriyah Race 2, a win in Sao Paulo, and then was non-classified in Tokyo. But it's very, very similar with Jake Hughes, just the other way around almost. Because he finished P7 in Mexico City, so he took points when Sam Bird didn't. Then in Diriyah Race 1 he finished P11 outside of the points, while Sam Bird finished P4 in the points and took points for the team. In Race 2 in Diriyah, Jake Hughes finished P4 in the race, taking points for the team, while Sam Bird retired and took no points for the team. You then head to Sao Paulo, where Jake Hughes retired from the race, taking no points for the team, and Sam Bird won and took points. And it wasn't until Tokyo where the team took no points for the whole weekend, obviously with Sam Bird unclassified, and Jake Hughes finishing P14. So it seems to be every time one driver does well in McLaren, the other driver doesn't do as well, and it's kind of like bouncing backwards and forwards.
Yep.
Intriguing. Very intriguing.
I feel like they've got it all sorted out. Like, they've got a car's worth, like, good stuff, car's worth bad stuff. Do you get what I mean? So, like, one weekend, one car does really well, the other one doesn't do much so much.
Yes.
They just sorted out half of it. They need to get the other car up.
It's kind of been bouncing back and forth. I'm quite intrigued to see how McLaren do in Misano, because if there is another driver, if they have it where, say, one of the drivers take points and the other doesn't, and then the following day one takes points and the other doesn't, there's like a weird theme going on here. Very weird theme. I think the only other thing really to cover from Sao Paulo, obviously, like I said, Pascal Wehrlein finished P5. In P7, I completely missed out P6, and P6 was Nominato. So that was a really, really good weekend for Andretti, obviously with the podium finish at a P6. In P7 you had Nico Muller. In P8 you had Nick Cassidy. P9 was Robin Frijns, and then in P10 was Sergio Sette Camara, which it's quite interesting. Sergio Sette Camara is currently sat in P17. He had a DNS in Mexico City. He took P9 in Diriyah Race 1, P17 in Diriyah Race 2, was disqualified from Sao Paulo, and then obviously finished P10. So he's got 3 points, and ERT only have 3 points for the season. His teammate Dan Tinctum is currently sat down in P22. I feel like there's quite big gaps recently between teammates and teams.
Yeah.
Because Pascal's
there's
P1 with Antonio P11. Nick Cassidy is
There's also that big
P2.
rumour, well, not big rumour, but it was like a discussion point about, is it Nico Muller
Yeah. Having a
being
Porsche
replaced?
test drive.
Yeah, and just there being a switcheroo.
Yeah, because I was saying to, I think it was Celeste I was saying this too, that something always felt a little bit odd about Antonio's goodbye message to WEC. Because it almost felt like he really didn't want to be saying goodbye, and it wasn't his choice. Because I know for a fact any team in WEC would love to have him. He is a phenomenal endurance racer. He's just a phenomenal racer in general. So it felt very, very weird to see him leave WEC. And now, obviously, with this whole thing of Muller potentially going up into Porsche next season, it makes me think, is it because Antonio maybe didn't want to leave WEC? He still wanted to compete in both the series. The rumours are very rumouring right now. The rumours are rumouring.
The rumours are rumouring.
I think the only thing to cover in Formula E is Eduardo Mortara was disqualified from the Tokyo E-Prix. This was due to over-consuming on energy, and it was caused by a problem with the software, and it was just 15 meters from the finish line. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was disqualified. The total energy used was over the maximum of 32. Unfortunately, across the start-finish line, we had a problem with the software with some power overuse. Normally, we should have a power derating once you have achieved the full battery capacity, and that function didn't work very well, and we ended up over-consuming. I think it was 15 meters before the start-finish line, so it wouldn't have changed anything to the result. But it's still our fault. The rules are the same for everyone. I think that disqualification is, I have to say, kind of deserved. We take it on the chin, but we need to make these things better. So, to be fair, Mortara shot me this weekend because obviously Mahindra have been towards the bottom for a while now. It's not like they are constantly fighting up the top or anything like that. So for him to qualify third in Japan was already a shock. And I would have really enjoyed to see him do well that race. Because I think Mahindra really, really need it. Especially then they left the weekend with Nick de Vries retiring and obviously Mortara being disqualified. There was 2 retirements because Lucas de Grassi also retired. And I saw some shady things from people. Let's just say some people need a social media manager some days, I think. Yeah.
It's very obvious when people don't have social media managers.
Yeah, you just have to look at some drivers' likes on Twitter and that'll tell you exactly who's got a social media manager and who doesn't. Anyway.
Or repost on TikTok. I know exactly what's going through your mind right now. I'll make sure to send you the video later.
No, I saw it when it was uploaded the first time, right? When it was first ever uploaded, it came to my For You page because it's I can't think what his name is, the person that actually posted it. Can't think of the pronunciation of his name. His videos come to my For You page a lot. I'm surrounded by theatre series all the time, so it does. And I was like, not my cup of tea, so I will swipe and keep watching. And now everyone's posting it everywhere and I can't escape it. Yeah, Formula 1, staying in Tokyo. We're still in Japan. No, we're not staying in Tokyo. It's not in Tokyo. It's for God's sake. Suzuka, Japan. Right. Red flag. Once again, Max Verstappen was on pole position. Are we shocked?
No, we're not.
And P2, well, and obviously went on to win the race from first. It's very rare that Max Verstappen doesn't win a race when starting on pole position, except obviously Australia. That was
it's right, it's not impossible.
Either way,
We got
pole position, fastest lap, race win. 77 points currently in the championship. 3 wins and 1 retirement. His teammate Sergio Perez currently sits behind him in the standings in P2 after taking P2 in the race. Who would have guessed it? And Carlos Sainz back again with another P3. He's currently sat 4th in the standings behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, who finished P4 in the race. Now, I heard through the grapevine that some people aren't impressed with what Carlos Sainz did this weekend, including Max Verstappen, who was throwing shade at him in the cool-down room after the race, essentially. That's what people have been branding it as. Essentially, Max Verstappen said to Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc was basically incredible out there, wasn't he? He was great. He was really fast.
Yep.
What's going on in that Ferrari 10, I don't know. Charles Leclerc is... And I saw a lot of people say that Carlos Sainz said that he would support his teammate if his teammate was ahead of him in the championship. He would support his teammate, allow him to get the extra points so that, you know, they have a better chance of winning the driver's championship. And people were like, don't say things that you're not going to keep the promise to, because obviously he finished ahead of Charles and Charles was always ahead of him in the standings. Whether Charles would be ahead of him in the standings if he didn't have to have his surgery, I don't know. But Charles Leclerc has been very consistent. 2 P4s, a P3 and a P2. So it's going to be very tight between those two. The McLaren boys are just behind. It's literally 2 Red Bulls P1, P2, 2 Ferraris P3, P4, and then the 2 McLarens P5 and P6 in the standings. Lando Norris is just ahead of his teammate by 5 points. Oscar Piastri. They took a 5th.
Compared to last season, again, McLaren, I don't know what they've done, but they've actually hit the ground flying. And, McLaren has always been my team from when I first started watching it.
Where the hell? You
Big up McLaren.
See it there, it's there.
So, last season, first half, and then they kind of got their act together. They bought new upgrades and the car was okay. But watching the start of this season has actually been exciting, really exciting, because it's the promises that were made of getting back to where we were.
Yeah.
In terms of fighting championships and stuff. I don't think it's going to be this season, because there's just utter dominance in that sense. But I do think if they carry on the way that they're going, they are going upward.
For sure.
So it would be nice. It's nice seeing them contend, fight against the Mercedes and the Ferrari.
It's not difficult to fight against the Mercedes right now, babes.
No.
Oh, right. Because bearing in mind, I fell asleep during this, right? I'm not very good with these early morning things. Mercedes. You make life very painful for me some days. Because I'd like to point out, a lot of people go, oh, you're a Mercedes fan. I'm not. If you were to ask me who my favourite team is on the Formula 1 grid, I would tell you my favourite team is McLaren. That does not mean the drivers are my favourite. It just means my team is McLaren. That's because McLaren were the first team I ever notably supported. And that is due to the fact that I liked Jenson Button, and I also liked Lewis Hamilton, and that's where that occurred from. Because I very much wasn't a team supporter when I was younger. I saw Butt on the screen, and I said, that one. And Mum said, no, we're Ferrari and Schumacher. And I went, that one. And she went, nope. And I said, that one. And she gave up at that point. So, and obviously, as things have changed, I am much more of a driver supporter than I am a team supporter, but I do like to see McLaren doing well because they were kind of the team that helped me really, truly fall in love with the sport. When you're younger and you're watching it, you don't really appreciate the sport as a whole as it is. So I just used to think it was cool that these things were going round and round and round and round and round really, really fast. I was like, wow, fun. And then when I truly got to fully understand what was occurring and everything like that, you know, McLaren really, really helped through with that because of the drivers they had. I liked Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton was there. So I really like to see McLaren doing well. The problem is both of my drivers race for Mercedes. So I'm really torn. Obviously, I want George and Lewis to do well. I want them to be winning. Would I cry if either of them won? Yes, absolutely I would. Is that going to happen anytime soon? No, clearly not. Because P7 for George and P9 for Lewis. And you know what? Someone said to me, George Russell was running really, really well and could have been on for a podium at one point. So what happened? I have no clue because the red flag really took it out of me. Which I do think we should probably talk about the red flag. Whose fault do you think it was?
See, I watched the video, and I do think Daniel Ricciardo was at fault because you don't just veer to the right without, and you can't that's just the thing. Like anyone driving, even if you're going around a left-hand bend on a road, you still end up checking on instinct your right-hand mirror. So I understand he said that he forced over that way. When you look at the video, it's obviously you can't comment that much because you don't know what the reflexes are like. You don't know what it's like actually being sat in the car. But from the overhead video, it didn't look he had veered. Who was the one who was on his inside that caused Daniel Ricciardo?
Well, the person he crashed into.
No. I know he. But there was apparently was down Daniel Ricciardo's inside, and forced Daniel Ricciardo to the right, and then that's why he went into Alex Albon.
Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh, I think that was
Because I know Yuki started ahead. It was like Yuki was ahead of. Don't mean to smack that. Yuki was ahead of Daniel in in qualifying. And then I'm pretty sure Alex Albon was just behind.
Yeah, Daniel was saying that whoever it was, whether it was Yuki or someone else, came across onto him, so he had to take evasive action to go to the right and then clipped Alex Albon. When you look at the video, it wasn't a sort of you saw Yuki swing to the right or something. I don't know.
It's obviously the FIA ruled it as a racing incident. I think it was a racing incident. I do think it is quite. There's two different conversations to have here, right? Regarding Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon here. Sticking on with Daniel Ricciardo for the time being, he's had a lot to say about Yuki Tsunoda, and his fans have also had a lot to say about Yuki Tsunoda. Which is crazy, seeing as Daniel Ricciardo is currently sat P17 while Yuki Tsunoda is sat P11th in the standing, and Yuki Tsunoda has 7 more points than Daniel Ricciardo because Yuki has 7 points and Daniel Ricciardo has no points. He said the past 2 races have been 2-point finishes. Yuki has been doing fantastically in that car and does not deserve to be overlooked for the talent he is producing in that car currently right now. Which I think people need to start understanding. And by people, I mean, if you're that person, okay? And I don't know why Daniel is currently feeling the need to be so loud about why he's being so negative about Yuki Tsunoda. Because the thing is, though, is one thing that I saw, topic and conversation on Twitter, Someone tweeted saying, every single teammate of Daniel Ricciardo's has loved him and gotten on with him, except Yuki. Don't you think that's weird? But the same can be said the other way round, because Yuki Tsunoda hasn't had a teammate that has ever not wanted to be racing with him. Yuki Tsunoda travelled to Japan to watch Nick in Formula E. And the way Nick's face lit up when he saw Yuki and was so happy to see him. The fact that Yuki still hangs out with Pierre outside of racing, outside of the team and everything like that, speaks wonders for what kind of person Yuki is. Yuki very much just keeps to himself, and he just seems like a very polite guy. I don't think I've really seen anyone ever speak negatively on Yuki Tsunoda before Daniel Ricciardo. No. I have seen people make comments regarding Daniel Ricciardo before, but also all of his teammates have spoken highly of him. So there's clearly a tiff occurring here in VCARB between the two. But I do think some people are being too loud about the wrong things.
It's also interesting that Daniel Ricciardo's been given, supposedly been given ultimatum if he has to prove by China, which is this weekend. Next weekend?
Next
21st.
weekend.
Next weekend.
Oh, it's while we're at Imola.
It has to improve by next weekend, basically, in his performances. Otherwise, he's out. And I said it to you guys in private, but sorry, there's a seaplane going over. It's just the one that goes down, collects the water, and drops it on the forest fires. But they do practices around the bay. So sorry. He's been given obviously this ultimatum, and now suddenly he's coming out saying, all this stuff about Yuki. And it's like, don't bring him down just because you've got this pressure to perform. If it was the other way around, if you get these performances, he'd be the one that would be given the ultimatum. It's purely for he's scoring the points and you're not. And for all the fans that are sitting there, some fans on Twitter are sitting there and saying that they can't believe that VCARB would do this, can't believe that Red Bull would do this to driver, talking about dropping them mid-season. I have lengthy receipts of drivers that this has happened to.
Thing is, though,
and that's not just coming from a Pierre Gasly, because that's what happened. But Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Daniel Kvyat, Brendan Hartley, I think.
Yeah, Nick de Vries,
Carlos Sainz to an extent. It's happened time and time again.
And it will continue to happen. And unless you're willing to be vocal about the driver that got dropped midway through the season for your driver, you shouldn't expect people to be vocal for your driver who's having the exact same treatment done. You celebrated the removal of a driver halfway through the season because it meant your driver was getting the seat. You can't then be angry at people who are getting excited because their driver could be going in halfway through the season at the dismissal of your driver. You can be upset by it, obviously. I was upset that Nick de Vries obviously got kicked out mid-season. But I am also quite excited that Liam Lawson could potentially be joining. But I would prefer Liam Lawson to join next season and not halfway through the season. Yeah. Purely because I don't like switching a driver up mid-season. I feel like you have to give them at least a year to settle into the car and then a year to prove. Which is why people are saying they don't understand why Logan Sargent's there, blah, 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 blah. I think Logan Sargent deserves a year to settle and a year to, feel comfortable, and then a year to prove. If he can't prove himself this year, I'd understand why they would try and remove him. That does, though, lead me nicely on to the other point I was going to say about Alex Albon. Alex Albon crashed his car in Australia. He then was given Logan Sargent's car.
Oh, chassis. God, I know where this is going. Carry on.
So Alex Albon then had Logan's car, right? Chassis, He then drove it around Australia, missed out on the points. They then head to Japan, and Williams tell Logan, you're not getting your old chassis back, you're getting Alex Albon's fixed car. So Alex is keeping yours, and you're going to have Alex's that was broken. And then Alex Albon proceeds to then crash Logan's chassis in Japan, causing a red flag. So now Logan's got Alex's newly fixed car, and Alex had Logan's car that is now destroyed. Do you think that when we head to China, Alex is going to have Logan's now fixed car? Or do you think Alex is going to have Alex's old car that he crashed in Australia that then got fixed that Logan drove in Japan? What car are the Williams drivers driving?
Logan then went into the gravel trap, didn't he? And had to retire from the race, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was Logan. Towards the end of the race, pretty sure he went off.
Potentially. It says on here he finished P17.
Oh,
I woke up to the Dutch national anthem and I quickly locked my phone.
I don't know whether I don't think he retired then, but he definitely went off into the gravel trap, I'm pretty sure, and damaged the already damaged car.
What is going on in Williams?
But people were saying, would he have gone into that gravel trap if he didn't have the damaged car? They don't know whether something could, like,
is
like
this
something that
the
they
video
did.
of him going round and then all of a sudden it's into the gravel?
I'm pretty sure.
That was... Is that practice?
I don't know.
Qualified practice? It was before the race.
I don't know. Oh, okay. All I know is that there was a conversation that would that have happened if he had his original chassis back?
Yeah. Interesting. Don't know what's going on in
Because they were
Williams.
saying, oh, he can't drive. Like, well, no, but he also does have a repaired chassis.
Yeah.
Of a car that's not his.
Yeah.
So you gotta give him. I feel really bad. I do feel really bad.
I do.
Like he is taking well. He said like an ill word about it. I know that can be media training and a lot of silencing on Williams' part, but he has been like, it's just fun. It is what it is. It's just a team. If they think Alex is going to win the points, then fair enough. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, like some of those drivers would have been so vocal about it. Like Max Verstappen literally said he would have purposely, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like Logan's gone very well about it, and you know he's taken it on with full grace and maturity.
Yeah.
But we are leaving Japan with officially 14 point finishers in the F1 standings. Can you guess who doesn't have points?
Is it the two drivers from the same team that made contact on lap 1 that took the left half of the floor on his car out and hasn't scored any points this season?
Who's that?
Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, Pierre Gasly's one of them. And his teammate
Thank
Esteban
you.
Ocon, you are correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Who else have we got?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yep.
Kevin Magnussen?
Nope, he's got points.
Okay,
He's
he's scored
got one.
he's got one.
He's got one. We were just talking about two of them.
Alex Albon.
Yep.
Logan Sargent.
Yep. You got two more.
Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, I already said.
Yeah, you said Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh my god, I'm trying to go through the bloody drivers. Why can't I not remember the driver?
These two share a team.
Oh, Joe 3 balls.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you have Max Verstappen's on 77 points, top of the standings. Sergio Perez behind in 64 points, so 13 points behind. Charles Leclerc's in P3 with 59 points. Carlos Sainz is in P4 with 55 points. Lando Norris is P5 with 37 points. Oscar Piastri P6 with 32. George Russell P7 with 24 points. And Fernando Alonso also has 24 points and is in P8 because George Russell's highest finish is a P5, so's Fernando's. But he's got a P5, a P6 and a P7, whereas Fernando's got P5, P6 and P8. Lewis Hamilton sat at P9 with 10 points. Lance Stroll is P10 with 9 points. Yuki Tsunoda P11 with 7 points. Oliver Behrman P12 with 6 points. Nico Hülkenberg P13 with 3 points. And K-Mag with 1 point in P14. As we leave the weekend. Okay, following some technical difficulties, you'll notice that
Hotel Wi-Fi, not the one.
Katie has moved locations for the outro. But thank you guys for joining us for a little speedy Parked Up podcast. Me and Celeste will be in Misano this weekend. As you're watching this, I will have just landed in Italy. I will be on I'll probably be on a train to Rimini at this point as you're watching this. So Misano vlogs will be coming. I'm staying in Italy, Celeste's going back, but Imola will be the following weekend, so lots of vlogs coming from Misano and Imola and any other content that we have coming from there, so keep an eye out on our social channels for those. All our social channels at ParkFem_, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You know where the YouTube is because you're here right now. You can check us out on our website as well, parkfem.co.uk. And I think that's everything. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon. Ciao bella.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao bella.